Thank you so much for joining us. So we have Vanessa Parker, who is joining us today. We always start these sessions just making sure that our guest speakers are human and one of us. So I have a few questions for you, Vanessa, just quick fire questions, and you just answer as quick as you can. All right? All right.
Let me have my coffee.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite age?
Ooh, 25.
Ooh, what was it about 25 that you loved?
I don't know. I think I really kind of started discovering myself. I had just gotten married to the first husband. That's another call. So I just kind of discovered myself. I had moved to Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. So I moved to Atlanta. It was a new environment and just really started to dig into who I really was.
Yeah, I love that. What's on your nightstand?
I have a charger that holds my phone, watch, and AirPods. That's there. And I'm getting my yoga certification. So my yoga books are now there because it is a ton of work. So it's a lot of reading and things. So now it's been yoga material. I know that's not fun at all, but it's been yoga material.
That's incredible. And I love that diversification of like skills. And yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Give us a snapshot of an everyday small joy.
Everyday small joy. So I get up before my house. So I have my stepson that's 16 that lives with us and my daughter that's 10. My husband's self-employed, so he has weird sleep patterns. I get up before everyone and I sit on the balcony with either tea or coffee and nothing, no noise, no anyone. That is my joy. It doesn't sound that exciting, but for me, that is my absolute joy in the morning.
Beautiful. I love them. Okay, you passed the test. You are human. You are one of us. I'm going to hand over to Vanessa, and then we'll have an opportunity for questions, and we'll have a little bit of chat about next week's session. So, Vanessa, over to you.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. I am gracious to be here. It is early for me here, but so glad that you all are on the call. Really quickly, who I am. So my name is Vanessa Parker. I was a project manager up until last Tuesday. So I got laid off due to COVID. They laid off about 15 and we had a agency of 40. But that's not about all of who I am. So I've been a project manager for the past 10 years, professional project manager, and in a corporate setting for the last 8 years. So my story is a little bit more unique than other people. I started off working in sales and then moved into management. So I manage a team of account managers at a for-profit school here in Georgia. And then I found myself with this business idea, decided to be a full-time entrepreneur. So my husband and I started a business where we helped people start businesses. I did all the admin and paperwork for that company. And we found ourselves in the middle of a recession and business kind of failed, literally almost lost everything, had to move back in with my parents in my room that looked just like it did in high school. So it was a down point for me and decided, I think I need to go back and get a job. So when I decided to go back and get a job, I had to look at my skill sets and what I was great at. And what I was great at over those years were organization, people skills, because I managed a team of 32 people. Being able to work with difficult people. So if you're as in project management, sometimes it's really dealing with different personalities. And so I started looking at a bunch of different things, and project management was something that spoke to me. I had met a young lady that was a project manager in the IT space. And so I thought that might be something I'd be interested in. So I started reading a few books, trying to educate myself on project management. And she assisted me with looking at my resume and changing some of terminology to make sure it kind of matched what you do in project management. Because in sales and managing people, there's a lot of project management that goes on, but I wasn't using the right terminology. So doing that, I ended up getting a job as an account manager / project manager for a deal company. So those deal companies were like, people would sign up and grab deals. It was new in the market at the time, so it was a growing startup, and that's how I got started into project management. I do not have my PMP because when I started working in project manager, so I moved from that job to another branding agency. And at that branding agency, I realized I enjoyed project management a lot, but I only liked project management in an agency environment. So that's one thing that when you're looking into project management, you want to think about what niche you want to be in. Because I would go to project management workshops and they would say, what's your name? Do you have your PMP? And it would make me feel like small, right? I would shrink a little bit because I didn't have that credential. But I had to realize that in agency work, so when we're talking about agency work, and I know, I don't want to sound redundant, but anyone on the call may not know, but agency work is more like creative things like print work or web development, graphic design, branding for companies. In those agencies, they typically don't care if you have a PMP or not. Those agencies are a little bit more flexible than your construction or some of your IT stuff. They are more agile, quickly get projects done. They're looking for experience and people who can speak the language of those industries rather than PMPs. And that's what I have found in the States. So I decided I wanted to stay in that. I did start studying for the PMP, and after, I went to a few study groups and realized that's just something I didn't want to do. And so I had to take another route. And when I go to project management networking events, I had to realize to myself, that's not what I want to do. So when someone would ask me, did I have my PMP? The first thing I would say is no, and I don't plan on getting it. And that gave me a lot of power because I used to feel like I needed to shrink. So if you're on the call and that's something you don't want to get, you don't have to. Just go into an industry in project management that you don't have to have that skill. Now, is it a great skill set and is it a great certification? It is. I'm not knocking anyone who wants to do it. It just wasn't something that I wanted to do. And again, even now, I got laid off on Tuesday. I changed my LinkedIn, information, and I've already had several interviews. So it's not something that was a barrier for me to get a job or an interview. I guess so. Another thing I want to talk about really quickly. So I don't know if any people on the call have been laid off or reduced or, in their industries. This is completely off topic of project management, but I felt led to share this because we are not all or nothing people. And I think that in our mindset, we do that. If we fail at something, we're a failure. You're not a failure if you fail at one thing. We're not all or nothing. And so during this transition, I was grateful that I could step away from the experience and realize it was a personal decision. They didn't lay me off because I was because I wasn't a great worker. They laid me off because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the industry that I work in, we've been losing a lot of clients. So I was downsized. And instead of taking that personal, and instead of saying, why me? Why did they let me go, right? Because it is sad. I've been there 6 years. So it's sad to be dedicated to a job and do all those things and then to be let go. But I wasn't the only one let go. It was other people. So it's taking yourself out of that experience and realizing that experience is happening and not just personal to you. We're not all or nothing people. Just because I lost my job on Tuesday doesn't mean that I'm a bad worker. It just means that I no longer am employed there. And if I can be really honest about it, 2 years ago, I knew in my gut it was time for me to leave. And I didn't go. I didn't follow my intuition. I stayed because it was comfortable. I stayed because I was scared of change. I didn't want to start over. I'm a rock star at this job. I don't want to go and start over from being at the bottom again. But I probably should have listened to my intuition. So the lesson I get from this experience is, when something no longer serves you, that could be relationships, that could be businesses, that could be jobs. When those things no longer serve you or you no longer feel that you need to be there, it may be time to start looking. And it's okay to start over. And so I wish I would have taken my own advice a few years ago, but here I am today, right? So yes, I was forced out, but now I've been seeing so many great opportunities that I probably missed out on a lot of opportunities because I waited so long.
Amazing. Vanessa, thank you so much for that bit at the end as well. Just, you know, I really, really just admire everything you just said there. And thank you so much for sharing that with us all. I think we can all relate to some degree. So thank you so much. If anybody can relate or has any questions, please do. Okay, we got some questions. Okay, so are you finding there are a lot of job opportunities at the moment in the current climate?
Yes. I have been seeing a lot of project manager jobs and jobs, period, client relations. The other thing too is in this environment, you may have to be a little bit more flexible, right? So there are some account manager jobs that I probably would not looked at before. They have in their descriptions, and when I've have an interview with another company recently, it's really more project management. The title's a little bit different. So I do think you have to be a little flexible. You need to be clear on what job you want. But yes, I do believe that there are jobs here. I'm in the US, so in my area, I have seen jobs. The other great thing is because we're in a pandemic, people are not so concerned about where you're located because now we're virtual. And can you thrive in a virtual environment? If that is something that you are great at, put that on your resume. Put that on LinkedIn that you lead virtual teams or you conduct virtual meetings, because that's important, especially as a project manager. So my role at the job I used to have, I was a project manager for an agency of a strategist, a creative team, so a graphic design team, a web design team. We did email marketing, so deliverability team. I didn't actually do any of the work, right? So I had to manage the people. And can you manage those people virtually? So if that's a skill set, put that on your LinkedIn because we are in a virtual environment. So I do believe that there are a lot of jobs in this climate. You just might have to be a little bit flexible.
Amazing. We've got some more questions coming through. So do you need to apply Prince2 or Agile principles? So do you need a basic understanding even if you don't have the qualification?
I believe so, yes. So, and sometimes that's a lot of self-study. Right now, there are a lot of great courses and tools that are available for you at discounted rates or even free because we are in a pandemic, so take advantage of that. You need to have some basic knowledge of project management, meaning terminology. For us, or people on the call, when you plan out an event or plan out a project or that's your scoping, right? So being able to know that terminology. Implementation is meaning that we're just, we're starting to do the project and things and we're implementing those things. Just having that clear understanding. I think don't get too caught up in some methodologies because although I want you to learn them and have basic knowledge, but every company you go to, their idea of project management is going to be different. So they're going to teach you their way of project management. So don't get so caught up on the methods. I think it's good for you to learn. Also, sign up for a few free accounts of project management tools. That way you're versed in a lot of different tools because there's probably 1,000 different project management tools, right? But there are some big players in that industry. Sign up for a few, sign up from some courses to learn. That way you bring to the table some knowledge of different project management tools that you have worked on or that you have knowledge about. But again, every company is going to have their different project management tool. So don't be so married to a tool that you can't learn something else.
Great, amazing. Do you have any advice on how to start for somebody who's changing career? I'm an events manager looking into changing my career. Where should I start?
Yes. So again, one place to start is start looking at project management courses, even some really basic ones so you can understand terminology. When you start going through the course, because as an event manager, you're a project manager. At the end of the day, it's the same kind of skill set. So as you're going through a project management course, or if you can't afford a course right now, that's something with your family is not as flexible, read some articles. When you start looking at project management terminology, you're going to notice it's the same thing you've been doing in event management. So my suggestion is to start writing out some of those skill sets that you have that are mirroring the project management terminology. Change those things on your LinkedIn. For example, if, and forgive me, I don't know event management terminology, but let's say your something on your LinkedIn talks about meeting with vendors and planning, you do vendor management. You scope out projects. So start using that same terminology that you're learning in the course or the project management information and apply it to the jobs that you had in event management. Does that make sense? Okay, so because you want the employer to see those key terms, and oftentimes they're doing keyword searches anyway. So you want to mirror some of those project management terms.
Yeah, I think terminology is a big one, and I completely agree. Having been in the events industry and in the project management industry, there's so many similar skill sets. It's just using the right words. Absolutely. Do you have any recommendations in terms of tools like Trello or Monday or anything else?
Yes. So my favorite is Teamwork. I'm biased to it because I looked at so many project management tools, and so it was my responsibility to bring a project management tool to the last company I worked in. And I studied so many. Now, things have changed a lot. There's some better ones, but Teamwork was one. They do have a free account where you can do 2 projects. So do 2 projects. You have a birthday party coming up or something happening with your kids, plan it out. And so you can get used to putting in tasks and different things. You have connections to people on this call or other people in your network. Add them to it so you can know how to add a client, like do different things to practice. So Teamwork is one. Another popular one now is called ClickUp. Mm-hmm. I am not as familiar with ClickUp, but in the space that I was working in, some of our companies that we worked with or vendors had ClickUp. So that's another one. I'm sure all of these have a free account. So try to sign up and learn and read and stuff. Trello, someone mentioned Trello and Monday. Yes, those are very good ones, especially if you're going to go into agency work. Agency people are creatives, right? So they like visuals. Trello is more of a visual type of project management tool, meaning that you have boards and cards and you kind of pull things instead of a long list of projects. So Trello is another one. If you want to go into agency, a lot of people use Trello. Monday is a good one. Costco was a major company for us and they used Monday. So I had to learn Monday. That's another thing as a project manager. And you probably know this in the event management space. You have to be flexible. If you want to go into these industries and you're not the best people person, be real with yourself. Start also taking some soft skill training. Maybe take a personality test and figure out how best you work with people, because I can sit here and tell you every tool and every project management tip, but if you are not a people person and you don't know how to talk to people or to get things done with people, difficult people sometimes, especially in agency work, it's going to be a struggle for you. So to me, project management is 60% people and 40% actually the work, right? So if that is not a strong skill set for you, I advise that's another way to start. You need to start thinking about how do you communicate? And now we're in a virtual world. If you're a person who hates virtual discussions and you prefer to be in person, you're going to have to get a little bit used to it, because even if we go back to our new normal, I foresee that we will always be a hybrid. We're always going to be in this virtual world now. This is kind of our way of life. So honestly, all that project management stuff is great, but if you're not a people person, I really think starting in the people space and understanding your personality and how you communicate with people is really, really important.
Absolutely. We've got some really great tips on here about the Open University has free project management courses and you get a certification, also LinkedIn. So do check the comments out. How do you manage your social media streams, as in keeping on top of the million video conferencing platforms?
So now there are so many platforms. So video streams, in the US, and a lot of people I've been using has only really been using Zoom. When Zoom had their security breach, then people started using Microsoft Teams. So I tried to use some of those too. It's the same thing I'm saying about project management tools. You want to be versed in a lot of different things. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect or know every in and out about a product or a platform. Sign up for a few, have a happy hour with your friends on it so you can learn how it works, right? So try different ones. Microsoft Teams is one that's pretty popular now. I even did a conference call through Facebook because the other person did not want to use Zoom because their Zoom was breached. So they wanted to do a video conferencing on Facebook. You can now do groups on Facebook. Almost like chat rooms where you can do video calling. So that was new for me. I had not done it. So be open. How am I managing it? I'm probably not managing it the best. It's so many different platforms. So for me, for example, I'm familiar with Zoom, so I didn't have to practice for this call. But if you are going to be leading a call or talking to people, practice on that platform before you get on. What does your lighting look like? You can't see this, but I have like 3 lights going on because it's not that bright in my house. And so I knew I'm going to be doing a lot of video calling. I do a lot of speaking engagements. So for me, I had to invest in some of the lighting. You probably don't have to do that, but I want you to think about how you're going to be looking. How do you look on video? How does this appear to people? So, and different platforms are different. So make sure that you're signing up. Again, all these things have free accounts. Sign up and practice on some of them. Don't wait until the day of your interview or the day of your event or thing that you're doing. Be the first time you jump onto that platform.
Amazing. Now, Vanessa, I know that you have children, you have a family. How have you found project management in the past in terms of the flexibility and managing family life and, work life?
One of the main reasons I went into project management is because it was flexible. When I was looking at moving from full-time entrepreneurship to project management, which if you're an entrepreneur, to me, project management is the most transferable skill from entrepreneurship. So when I was looking for something that was flexible because my daughter was going into kindergarten and I wanted to be available. I wanted to be near her and available. So to me, it's very flexible. It's even more flexible because we are in a pandemic, so we're more virtual. So most jobs I've been seeing are work from home or at least a hybrid of that. You come in a few days a week, especially if things start opening back up, then you'll go in a few days a week. So that's something that I looked for in project manager. Flexibility for my family. This job, this is why I didn't leave, was like a unicorn job. So this may not be for everyone. We had unlimited PTO, so paid time off was unlimited. And we had a lot of flexibility as long as you got the job done. So what you will find in a lot of IT, so in the IT space, I think Google was the one who kind of started this. And everyone, if Google says something, it's the word of Bible and everyone does it, right? So Google started this thing called ROE, Results Only Work Environment. So that meant that you didn't have to work a traditional 9 to 5. You had to be available for calls, meetings that were traditionally like a 9 to 5, but your work could be done you can do the work when you had time as long as it got done. So that's results only work environment. So the company that I worked for adopted that culture. So again, when I was looking for an employer and job, those are questions I asked. What is your flexibility? Now, when I first started, I didn't work from home 5 days a week. I only worked from home Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then slowly, my boss was in New Jersey, and the team that I managed, only one person that I managed or helped with project management worked in the Atlanta office. So I asked my boss, hey, I'm on video calls all day. I'm literally going to my desk at work and no one's talking to me because I'm on video calls. It's easier for me to work from home. Is that something we can do? Now, I had already worked there a year and a half before I went to negotiate that, and she said yes. So before you start negotiating those things, do good work, right? So I proved to my team that I was great at what I did. I did things on time. So I try to, before you start asking for things, right? Make sure that you're excellent in what you do, or you're doing the work and having the results. So I was able to bring that to the table, and then I started working from home. It was more flexible for the pandemic because then the kids came to the house and they were doing school work. So I had to create a more designated area for my workspace. My kids don't understand that I'm on a video call and I'm working. That's just something they don't get. Even my husband doesn't get it sometimes. Everyone's asleep, so I can say that. But I literally have to say, hey, everyone, I have a video call. Don't talk to me for an hour. I had to kind of set up some of those boundaries to make sure that I could still remain flexible and still get the job done with all these people in my house now.
I can definitely relate to that. And what do you think is the biggest difference in terms of let me ask that in a different way. What is the best thing about working agency rather than some of the other types of PM kind of positions for you? What was the benefit?
I think it's also personality. So I've done some freelance work for electricians, so like construction type work. I've done some project management work for a large company that had an event that was happening. For me, it's more of a personality. So I'm not swaying you into agency work, but I'm a little bit more laid back. I'm not as structured where I wanted more of a corporate environment. I like working with creative people. I think because deep down inside, I wish I was a creative. I wish I could create things and make them. I can't. So I love working with creative people. I think that creative people are sometimes misunderstood. I am married to a creative, so I know how to kind of talk to that creative mindset. So for me, it's just more of a preference. And again, I didn't need a PMP. I felt like the agency work was a little bit more flexible. Now it's work though, right? Because it's marketing, it's branding, it's web development. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's less work. It's just more laid back in my personality. So that's why I chose it. I have friends that work in IT that are project managers and implementation. So they do the implementation work too. So I think you have to decide what your skill set is and what you want to do. I don't want to do any implementation. That's not what I want to do. I do like talking to clients. So that's one thing I have realized in this job that I just had. I only had a few clients I talked to. I was more of a behind the scenes project manager, and there was an account manager that I worked with. So I had the relationship with the account manager to get the job done, and the account manager talked to the client. I realize I'm looking for a job now. I do like talking to clients. So I want to be more client facing than I was at my last job. So for you, you need to again, it's a personality thing. That's why I chose agency work over some of the other project managers roles.
Amazing. Awesome. Again, some really, really great tips coming up in terms of there's a book, Productivity Ninja. It gives some good
that sounds like a good one.
Yeah, so this one's on how to manage others' expectations with regards to I need to get my head down and concentrate. Please don't talk to me. Love that. Awesome. Okay, any other questions? Do we have any other questions? Please do feel free to unmute yourself. Any others?
Okay, real quick. So when you're changing careers, a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough grace and understanding that you're going to be new at it. If you've been in the industry so long, you're probably great and you're a rock star as an event manager, or you're a rock star at what you're doing. When you're transferring over, I want you to remember that it's going to be not as easy, right? Sometimes you may have to take something that is not Maybe it's lower paid, or maybe it's not exactly what you want because you need to get your feet wet into project management. You could freelance. So there are a lot of freelancing platforms that you could freelance and try, like Upwork or Fiverr or different things to kind of test out your project management skills. If you have friends or family that have businesses or other ways that you can kind of test out your project management skills, you can do that. I don't want you to, sometimes the imposter syndrome or the fear of not being, the newness or not being perfect at that thing, it's okay. Remember, you're transitioning. And I don't think that we give ourselves enough grace to transition. Anytime we have a life change like that or a transition to a new space, imposter syndrome and those kind of things rise up. So just, my suggestion too, especially if you found yourself unemployed right now, write down all the things that you are grateful, that you are great at. I think we spend a lot of times on our weaknesses, but we don't really look at what we're good at. So look at what you're good at, write those things down as a reminder to yourself, because it's really hard sometimes when you're looking at these job descriptions and you see them, you're like, I can't do half of these things, but you probably can, but you need to kind of change your mindset into project management and how you can transfer those skills. But it's new. So give yourself some grace to know that if you are transitioning into something new, you're not going to be perfect at it. And you're not going to, new is just like we're starting all over again, and it's okay.
Okay, now I've unmuted myself. On the camera, it's just going to be me there panicking. I saw a load of nods there. I can see that really, really related to a lot of people. So thank you so much, Vanessa. Last chance for any other questions. And if there are none, thank you so much, Vanessa, for your time, for all of those gems. We really, really appreciate it. Is there a way that people can link up with you? I'll make sure that that's in the email and some of the posts that we put out. Where's the best place to find you if they need to?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, and now I'll make sure that Jay has my LinkedIn information. I'm on social media though. I'm a social butterfly on social media. So on Instagram is where you can find me the most. And my handle is The Pink Boss. So ThePinkBoss. So I do a lot of speaking engagements and talking about project management, managing chaos in your own life, and imposter syndrome. So you can contact me there. I am now available all the time. So you can email me if you have questions. And don't be afraid to ask people for help. Ask me if I don't know the answer, I can at least try to find a resource for you or direct you to someone who I may know in my network that can assist.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. So next week we're going to be talking, we have our very own Nadine coming to chat about her experiences setting up as a limited company and as a sole trader more recently. Hopefully I've got that right, Nadine. Am I right in saying that? It was limited company first and then a sole trader?
Yeah, well, I was, basically sole trader into limited company and now a sole trader for a new business. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So she's, for anybody who hasn't even delved into this space, if you're wondering about which one to go towards, if you're thinking about setting up on your own, or it's the first time you're going into it as a contractor, Nadine will be kind of providing some support and any and her experiences around that. So if you have any questions, do pop them into the comment chat now so that Nadine can make sure that she frames that conversation around some of the questions that you might have, or send them in to me. So either on LinkedIn or after this, you will get an email from me with the replay. So you can just reply to that and just let me know any questions you have. And we can make sure that we frame that around some of the stuff you're grappling with. And once again, thank you all so much. It's been lovely to see you all, and I hope to see you next week.